The slot corner position for the Pittsburgh Steelers is still a bit of a concern heading into training camp because, yeah, they signed Cameron Sutton. You know, he will be the slot corner, but not until after the bye week because he was suspended 8 games.
Yeah, for his situation, we all know the situation. We all know the allegations, what he's going through. The NFL found something with their investigation to a point where they felt like it was reasonable for him to be suspended half the season. I don't know if he will appeal. I figure he would have by now if he was going to, but Sutton might just very well just take the punishment and try to move on from this.
Right.
I don't know. We don't know what happens with that whole situation in general. You know,
It's still a private investigation.
with it being ongoing, like we don't know how that's going to go down.
But what we do know, and I'm sure the Steelers knew this was coming,
They had to know this was coming.
Sutton is suspended, so he won't play until the second half of the season, which is where he's going to be very needed. But up until then, who's the starting slot corner? I couldn't tell you.
Well, let's go down the names that I'm anticipating to be competing for that slot position.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking Beanie Bishop, who I'm excited for. I got solid, big hopes on him. I think he's a hell of a prospect.
Yep.
So Beanie Bishop, Anthony Averett, who doesn't exactly have a lot of slot experience in the NFL, but if there's a way for him to get back into the league, that might be the best way for him.
His best year with Baltimore was in the slot. I will add
Was
that.
it in the slot? I thought he was more of an outside guy.
Pretty sure it was in the slot. But you know, can he stay healthy is his biggest concern.
Yeah, it's the injury concerns just as much. Going down the line, Graylin Arnold, he was a Texan last year. Josiah Scott, former Eagle. Thomas Graham, former Brown, I think Bear too. Darius Rush and Corey Trice, 2 rookies last year, you know.
That's all. I mean, I think Rush saw combined, 20-something slot reps?
He might have.
Like, he didn't see a lot of time.
But, I mean, just going down the list, those guys will be given an opportunity for sure. I'm anticipating those guys to be competing. But right off the bat, I mean, that's just a lot of uncertainty right there. A lot of unproven names at the moment. Some potential there, like Trice and Rush potentially, but there's still worrisome uncertainty at that position.
Right.
For the first 8 games.
No, because, I mean, if I had to give you like a favorite, it would probably be Bishop, Trice, Rush. I'll throw Casey out there. Because Casey's not a starter right now. But Casey can play in the slot.
He can.
He doesn't do it a lot. He played a lot of free safety. He played a lot of deep zone last year. He can play in the box as well, but he could also play in the slot. But that's for a camp battle. That's what camp battle is all about because Sutton will probably be the slot corner when he returns if no one's up to par. But the camp battle is going to be who's going to be the week 1 starter. It'll probably be between a lot of those guys. Rush will get an opportunity because whatever time he saw last year, it was in the slot, specifically in the Colts game. He almost came away with a pick. Trice, if he stays healthy, you know, he's a big body. I want to see if they want to work him as a James Pierre type piece where he's a sub-package guy.
Yeah.
You know? Of course, Beanie Bishop, typical slot guy. You know, that's exactly what you want in a slot guy. Someone like that. Someone that is quick, ball skills. You know, he has the instincts, the speed, you know, the aggression that you want to see from a guy. You know, he's probably like one of the favorites up there. But it's still a little uncertain unless someone really pops onto the screen during camp and preseason. Otherwise, you know, it's not out of the question for the Steelers to continue to be adding bodies during training camp. They do it all the time, especially if they're veterans. They always add people. You know, they're always bringing in extra bodies. They're always bringing in new faces, you know, see, you know, what they can do. Or perhaps they don't get enough of what they want to see from the guys that they have invested in, and then they bring in some piece right before the regular season. Because there are still some free agents out there, not specifically at corner, because there's no one on the corner market, if you were to look at it, that pops onto the screen that should be a must-sign for the Steelers.
No, and primarily they're outside cornerbacks, and
They're aging.
they're out their prime.
No. So if you want to look at potentially safeties, you know where I'm going with this, you could look in the safety department, you know, because maybe you want to put KZ down there as the slot corner, or maybe you want to make KZ a special teams guy, or you just want to bring in so many extra faces into the defensive back room, in the safety room. You can bring in a free agent safety. Now, out of all the free agent safeties out there, there's one guy that I'm sure we're all already thinking about, Justin Simmons.
Of course.
How is he still a free agent?
I don't know. He just is.
It's crazy to me how this guy, who is an all-pro, an elite player still now, 31 years old, yes, he's a little up there in age, but 30-something years old, he's still at the top of his game. And he's still a free agent after everything. It makes no sense to me. So if there was a team for him to go to, I think the Steelers make sense because clearly, the Russ connection, and we can never have too many defensive backs. And the way we could incorporate him into the defense would be absolutely insane.
That's just much more added star power to the defense. It would confuse opposing offenses a lot more with his flexibility and just the way he plays football. He's a do-it-all type of defensive back.
Yeah.
Adding him to the secondary would just make it that much more deadly, more ferocious.
And
right there.
even if you want to keep him because he's not going to be a starter. Okay, that's the weird thing about Justin Simmons. If he were to be a Steeler, he's not going to be a starter because they have their stars. They have Minkah Fitzpatrick and they have Deshaun Elliott. Unless they make Elliott the third guy. Unless they make Elliott the third piece. But Elliott came in under the presumption that he was going to be a starter. So, I don't know. Maybe they want to make Simmons the third guy because he would be an upgrade over Casey. And just imagine Simmons and Minkah on the field together.
Yeah. Like, there was debate of, who was the better safety in the league. Who's the best safety in the league? Now, imagine those two, on the same team, on the same field.
They're one and the same. They are. They're ball hawks. They're explosive. They can do everything you ask them to do, right? They can play deep. They have incredible range, ball skills, all that, right? But the thing with Simmons with the Steelers is he would also add on to helping Minkah get back to Minkah ball.
Yes, he would.
Where Minkah wouldn't have to worry anything below him. He could still play the deep range. He can play the deep zone while Simmons covers the box, which Minkah had to do a lot last year. He can cover the slot, which Minkah had to do a lot last year.
Yeah.
Minkah was also hurt a lot last year. So keeping him healthy is a big plus for the defense.
Yeah.
So adding Simmons and making him a slot threat would be insane. And the Steelers love their three safety sets. They love their dime packages. They love running a lot of defensive backs onto the defense.
Yeah.
That's Terrell Austin's bread and butter. That's why he was a defensive backs coach before he was promoted to defensive coordinator. He just knows how to work these DBs. He knows how to put them in positions to benefit themselves and benefit the team and just strengthen the defense altogether.
And just load up the safety depth even more, load up the secondary even more, those three safety sets. You add Simmons to that group. We're talking Minkah, Elliott, Simmons, Casey. He can find a way, I'm sure, he can find a way with different sub-packages and just a way to utilize these guys in some way or fashion with these three safety sets. Just imagine how much more confusing it would make our defense when it comes to opposing offense.
Or even if you want to put Minkah in the box, if you want to put him in the slot and then put Simmons out deep, you have a safety that you can trust to defend. I mean, before Minkah, we didn't have that. When Minkah was down last year, we didn't have that. If you were to bring in Simmons, my God.
Your secondary would pretty much be fulfilled. The slot cornerback position would be fulfilled. Your safety depth would be fulfilled. You have added star power to that secondary.
Yes.
I mean, holy shit. Just speaking about it, just talking about it, I mean, that'd be great.
If you're not down with that, we've got two words for you.
Sign Simmons. They run a lot of three safety sets. So would Simmons come in as a depth piece? Would he come in as a starter or a co-starter? I'd say he'd be a co-star. They made Neal and Casey co-starting safeties last year. They can do the same for Elliott and Simmons, and they would play them both at a respectable rep count where they would both see a lot of time on the field. They would both still make impacts, and they would remain healthy. I think that'd be great.
Could do that.
That's what I would do. And then you have someone that you can trust with Simmons for the first half of the season until Sutton gets back.
Or even when Sutton comes back, I mean, you can still utilize both of them in the slot.
Yeah, you
You
could.
can do that mismatch. You have that duo slot pair right there. Kind of like, remember Mike Hilton when he was here and Cam Sutton in his younger days when they were the duo in the slot.
Dude,
that slot position was locked down.
Imagine the dime packages with that.
Yeah.
You got Minkah, you got Elliott deep. Or you got Minkah and Simmons deep with Elliott or Simmons in the slot while Sutton's in the dime or vice versa. That's dirty.
Filthy.
That's a dirty dime package right there, man. Holy hell. Now, obviously, you know, that could still be a pipe dream with Simmons. You know, I just don't understand how he's still out there. But, you know, I figured, you know, with the concern of the slot corner position, maybe the Steelers go out and venture for another veteran just to fulfill that position for at least the first half of the season if no one proves themselves in camp. That could happen, and we hope that happens. But if not, yeah, the Steelers are going to have to do something. Because we can't go without a sustainable slot corner for the first half of the season.
No.
It's just not going to work.
No.
So maybe they'd go out and reach for a guy like Simmons, and they would just strengthen the defense in so many ways.
Yeah.
It's incredible. If it's not Simmons, they could go with a familiar face for Terrell Austin. Now, he's a little older of a safety.
He's about a year older than Simmons, but he's still a quality player. He's a guy that is familiar with Terrell Austin and, of course, former teammates with Russell Wilson, talking former Lion and Seahawk Quandre Diggs.
Yes.
He's still a free agent. He's still out there. Again, he's a little bit older than Justin Simmons, but he's a guy that is still able to bring quality play in the secondary.
Yes. And at this stage of his career, yeah, he's played safety for Seattle the past number of years. And he's been one of their consistent starting guys on that defense before they eventually moved on and everything. But you know, the reason we bring him up is, yes, because of his experience with Terrell Austin. Before Terrell Austin was the Bengals defensive coordinator, and before he was the Steelers defensive back coach turned defensive coordinator, he was the defensive coordinator for Jim Caldwell's Lions from 2014 to 2017, where he coached up Quandre Diggs. And Quandre Diggs was actually the starting nickelback for Terrell Austin's defense for 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So from 2015 to 2017, he was the starting nickel corner for Terrell Austin.
Yeah.
So he already has that experience.
Yeah, and Austin's a big component into why Diggs switched over to safety, which obviously elevated Diggs' career, became a 3-time Pro Bowler, if I'm not mistaken, at that position.
Right. And now the concern with him playing slot and coming in as a slot would be he hasn't played a lot of slot reps since Terrell Austin left. You know, it seems like when Terrell Austin left, that's when he made the full transition to safety and elevated his game. But he was still a solid slot weapon for Detroit when he first started his NFL career.
Yeah.
But like I said, he hasn't played a lot of that since then.
No, he hasn't.
So that is a concern, is lack of reps in that area in recent years. But could he do it? I mean, that's where he started. And
so. If there's somebody that's familiar with his play and that knows him very well, it is Terrell Austin. If there's somebody that knows how to use him, it is Austin.
And like you mentioned, you know, the same thing with Justin Simmons is the Russell Wilson connection.
Yeah.
They both played with Russell Wilson. You know, they understand his leadership. They understand his winning mentality.
Yeah.
You know, you could bring that into the locker room. That's what we've been trying to bring back to the locker room.
Yeah.
So
Really could.
outside of that, I mean, there's not many other names they could bring in that really stands out to me. Maybe they trade for somebody. Who that could be, I don't know. Haven't even started to dig into such players or such ideas. But I figured, you know, seeing the Steelers past and seeing who they have at hand at slot corner now and how they just like to bring in bodies and veterans, and depending on how camp goes, these are some names that they could bring in to fulfill that slot corner position because they're going to need it now that Sutton is officially suspended. Someone like Simmons especially would be a must-add to the defense.
I mean, if he's still available out there and you can find a way to pair him with this defense and to utilize his playing style, I mean, you go out there and get that guy.
Yeah.
And I have to imagine at this point he wouldn't be that expensive to sign. Plus,
No.
the Steelers still have some decent cap as of right now.
Yeah, they got cap to sign anybody at this point, dude.
Yeah, was it 16 mil?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Well,
So,
they,
yeah.
They would sign Simmons like a 1 year, I don't know, like, let's just throw a number out there. 8 mil max? I don't know. Probably cheaper than that.
Probably could be cheaper.
But, you know, if we're talking like slot, now obviously Simmons plays more of the box. He plays more of the deep zone, but he can play in the slot. He has over 1,000 plus reps of slot experience throughout his entire Denver run. So he can do it. And he's just a playmaker. You know, he's a ball hawk. He can. It kind of fits where he could really benefit many teams now, is where he's right around the line of scrimmage. He's right around where the ball carrier is, and where he's He's a physical player, man. He's got great instincts. He's good in the run defense. I think that do us well. Plus, he can blitz.
Yeah, and the Steelers love to blitz their nickel cornerbacks.
Yeah.
The guy's a better blitzer than Cam Sutton. So,
Absolutely. So, Justin Simmons, man, I mean, I know it's still a pipe dream, but to the Steelers, if I'm going to go to bed tonight and still hope for Justin Simmons, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
hey, under Omar Khan, anything's possible.
Hell yeah.